my clock. So we're going to go by that one. It's close to 6 here. So we're going to get this Midvale Planning Commission meeting going for October 9th. We like to start our meetings by doing the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you'd all stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. If we can get an attendance roll call, please.
Chair Erickson,
Here.
Vice Chair Anderson,
Here.
Commissioner Tippett,
Here.
Commissioner Snow,
Here.
Commissioner Lidke,
Here.
Commissioner Edwards,
Here.
Commissioner Kasparian.
Here.
Thank you, that's a full house. All right, did we have a chance to review those minutes that were emailed out earlier today?
Mm-hmm.
Yes? Did anyone see anything?
No.
No?
No changes for me.
Okay, I can entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of September 11th.
Second.
Is it all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, we're good. All right, let's get on to the public hearing portion. First up, we have Brandy Naylor requests conditional use permit approval for intensive office for Raise the Future located at 7414 South State Street, suite number 101 in the State Street Commercial SSC zone. Elizabeth is presenting.
Thank you. Okay, so this is located, if you'll remember, actually just above the rezone request that we were doing last time. So they're just north of it right there. And Raise the Future is a private nonprofit that does contracts under Utah's Division of Child and Family Services for kids that are in foster care. So they already have an existing business there. They are just expanding that to include mental health services as well. And that just changed the classification that we use in the use table. That puts them under a medical clinical designation. So that's why they're in for the CUP. Staff found that they met all of the conditional use permit requirements. One of the biggest things was parking. They do share the building space with one other business as well, and there was plenty of parking for both of those spaces. So we are recommending approval, and I've included a motion for you. Any questions for me?
Not at this time.
Thanks. The applicant is here as well.
Awesome. So if the applicant has anything to say, you're welcome to come up to the podium, state your name, and tell us about the change.
We'd love to hear about what you do and what that is there.
Yeah, so we've been there for 10 years. Do you want to come up with too? This is Kathy Searle. So we just recently had a change where she was our vice president of programs for 25 years and then retired, and I just a month ago took over. So she
And are
knows
you
even
Brandy
more.
Naylor?
I'm Brandy Naylor.
Okay, great.
This is Kathy Searle. Yes.
Awesome.
So yes, we've been serving youth in foster care for 20
Over 25 years.
yeah. Have a recruitment program that helps find youth families that are waiting in foster care, so older, harder to place is what they call it, with a contract with DCFS, as well as we've got legislative funding to be able to support those families that also adopt those kids that we find families for. And what we found is there's a gap for mental health services, and so that's why we're hoping to
help with
expand
that.
even more. Yeah.
Excellent. No, that sounds great.
So it's in the same building?
Yep, same building. We've just
Okay.
changed to, we have office sharing and things like that, where we just took 3 offices and made them into therapy offices and play therapy offices.
Nice.
And yeah, been doing some training of adoption competency and things like that, and made sure that those offices were set up where we can.
Do you see a need to expand the offices, or do you feel like that's big enough, that space?
We think it's big enough. Because of COVID, we ended up being much more of a hybrid office. So we only have staff in the office once a week, and it's up until about 3:30, 4 o'clock. And most therapy hours are after that because it is youth, so they're in
Right.
school and we do that. So, and we also have telehealth services, and so they can
Nice.
do that as well. So,
And in-home.
and in home, yes,
Nice.
yeah.
Wonderful. Great use of the building.
Yes. It's,
Or try.
We try.
Nonprofit, you have to, right?
yeah.
Well, yeah,
I think
yeah.
the owners of the building, we've had to like remodel and paint and pull down walls, and they've allowed us to do that because it was not permanent walls, and so just it's been great. Yeah,
Wonderful. I never knew you were there.
come by.
You're way back in the back.
We are way back in the back. We always have to say we're behind the school, the autism
autism
school. Yeah.
Yeah.
But 10 years this week, we've been there
Yep.
in that location, so.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's been great.
Very cool.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
All right. So let's open it up for public hearing. It's open for public hearing.
Did we receive any comments? Okay.
I move a closed public hearing.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
I'll
Legal,
go.
Aaron, do you have any?
So this is an administrative decision. As long as all the boxes are checked, you need to approve, and if not, then you need to deny.
Thanks.
Thank you. See, I remembered that time.
I'll go ahead and make a motion.
Thank you.
I move that we approve the conditional use permit for intensive office use for Raise the Future located at 7414 South State Street, Suite number 101 in the State Street Commercial Zone.
I second it.
Can we get a roll call vote?
Chair Erickson,
Yes?
Vice Chair Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Lidke,
Yes.
Commissioner Snow,
Yes.
Commissioner Tippett.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. So,
Welcome.
yeah. I'm glad you're expanding. Definitely work with staff if you have any additional questions or anything like that. Thank you. All right, thank you.
Thank you for being here.
All right, up next on the agenda, we have Midvale City initiated request to amend sections of Title 17 of the Midvale City Municipal Code. This amendment moves home occupation standards from individual zones to Section 17-6-4 and clarifies in the use section of each zone that some uses are subject to standards in Chapter 17-6 supplementary regulations. Johnny was going to present, but Vendelin is standing in.
Yes, I'm here for Johnny. I will do my best. So this amendment came about because we had a phone call probably 3-4 months ago at least for someone who wanted a home occupation, and it turned out that particular zone did not have any home occupation standards. And so that kicked this off, but then it morphed a little bit, but that element you'll see in a second here is in here. First of all, there's a little bit of housekeeping. The home occupation standards, like some other standards in the code, are always identical from zone to zone. And with that, we created a special section in the code for those types of occurrences. So we are moving the home occupation standards into that section from each zone. And that's why this is quite lengthy, because it's always the same thing in each zone where this applies. So, and this is in the supplementary section 17.6.4. That's where the home occupation standards now reside. And this is what I mentioned. This is in the regional commercial residential overlay, and home occupations didn't exist. And so it's been added, and therefore, people who live and who happen to live in the zone can have a home occupation.
So this is being moved to the section that traverses all of these zones.
Yes.
Instead of repeating it over and over and
Yeah.
over again, it just references the one, and so.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it really helps with management of the code, because one can see over time you have some changes here, some changes there, and then things aren't consistent anymore. And you may have noticed the amendment that you approved a few meetings ago that goes into how to determine if a zoning code amendment, complies. It comes into play now, and the recommendation is that you approve this because this clarifies things in the code and makes the interpretation of the code a lot easier. And if you have any questions, I can hopefully answer them for you.
I don't have any.
It seems efficient, so,
No, I don't have any.
yeah. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Johnny.
Let's see. So, looks like we're going to open this up for public hearing.
I make a motion that we close the public hearing.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, as this was brought up by Midvale, I don't think we need to check with legal.
Well, it's a legislative decision.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Okay.
Your discretion as to whether or not to.
Be
Yeah,
more
so my
efficient.
office has reviewed it, so.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. You've already seen this.
Well, I move that we recommend to amendment sections of Title 17 of the Midville City Municipal Code as provided in the attachments with the finding noted in the staff report.
Second?
Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Chair Erickson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Anderson,
Yes?
Commissioner Lidke,
Yes.
Commissioner Snow,
Yes.
Commissioner Tippett.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you. All right, next up on the agenda, Midvale City initiated a request to amend sections of Chapter 17-7-11 of the Midvale City Municipal Code. This amendment is to replace figures 1.01, 2.01, 4.01, and 5.01 to be consistent with recent rezones to the Main Street Form-Based Code, MSFBC zone. Johnny/Vendelin is presenting.
Thank you. So this is a housekeeping item as well. You probably remember we added to the form-based code area on the northern end of Main Street. If you look at this map, the very tip, we added a few lots, and then on the far side of Holden Street. And since we did that, the exhibits in the code needed to be updated. So if you look at this exhibit here, it's the district boundary. The boundary just moved, so that's why that had to be updated. Here, this is the district map. It also, added the territory that got added, and a nice side effect of this is that now one can look at this map and one can actually see what's in the Main Street portion and the town center core. Earlier, in the earlier version, the colors were so close to each other that it was sometimes hard to see what's where. And here's the same with the street type map. And one thing that's new here, and if you if you look at the pointer here, this is the extension of Tuscany View Drive. So that's shown here in dashed. Dashed is the category for future streets. And then here's the frontage map. Same thing again. Those streets who weren't there earlier were now added, and you can see up here, this is what got added with the one zone change. And then over here on Holden Street, that's the Tuscany View Drive again. And same idea again, this qualifies as an amendment to the code because it makes things consistent and makes the interpretation straightforward. There's no discrepancy anymore. And if you have any questions.
So in the upper left corner,
Yeah.
like the Utah looking piece, the black dotted line.
Okay, one second. Upper left-hand corner here.
Yeah. Is that little tiny parcel, is it not connected to the building to the right of it?
I don't believe so. I think that's the railroad line. It's, I think it's connected to the piece below it here.
So is that the steel place that's in front of that?
Pardon me?
Is that this rebar still?
So the rebar place, I believe, is this building, so it's behind it.
Okay.
It's a weird little,
Yeah, it's, I just,
Weird
kind of
little
a
jog.
weird little
Yeah.
Yeah.
jump there, but.
Yeah. It's, I mean, the railroad actually owns quite a bit of land there, and that's why the parcels seem a little odd at first sight. So.
okay.
So, and staff recommends approval of this.
Questions? No?
None for me.
All right,
Public.
thank you. All right, we'll open this up for public hearing.
I move that we close the public hearing.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Good.
I move that we recommend approval of the text amendment to the section of Chapter 17-7-11 of the Midvale City Municipal Code to, as provided in the attachment with the finding noted in the staff report.
Second?
Can we get a roll call vote?
Chair Erickson?
Yes.
Vice Chair Anderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Lidke?
Yes.
Commissioner Snow?
Yes.
Commissioner Tippett?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you. Good work, staff. Making the code more efficient, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Yeah, you're watching at home. So next up, we have our staff updates, other business. We have land use training. I think that's why we have books here.
Yes.
We have to get, are we doing a book report next week?
No, in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks. We have 2 weeks to read it, and then we have to do a book
We
report.
can probably push that out by maybe 4 weeks. but
Okay.
then
Awesome.
after Aaron is done, I'll talk a little bit about this, why. Yeah.
Make it fun. Let's see here.
All right. Wow, that is the easiest, smoothest IT transition I've ever had. So we're here for our annual training on Open and Public Meetings Act. We are required by Utah State Code to have annual training on this with public bodies such as yourselves. And so we'll just dive right into what the purpose of the act is, and that is to keep things open and transparent so that the public can see what decisions you're making them, why you're making them, who's influencing those decisions. We're trying to avoid the backdoor deals or backroom deals or whatever, and just make it easy for the public to participate if they want.
It's an option.
It's always an option.
But to otherwise be able to go back and look and see why decisions were made and how.
Thus, we invite them to come and make their public comments known rather than discussing it on our porch.
Yes, exactly, and we're going to talk about that. So, just really quick, what is a meeting? So what does this Open Public Meetings Act apply to? It's a gathering of a public body with a quorum present. It has to be convened, as Chairman Erickson does, for the express purpose of receiving comment, deliberating about something, or taking action about something. And as a planning commission, obviously, you do all three of those things pretty much every meeting, right? Where you're receiving the information from staff, receiving public comment, hopefully most meetings, talking about what you'd like to see happen in the city, whether or not you think that the proposed legislation or permit or whatever is appropriate, and then taking action is obviously when you're voting on it and determining what to do with it. So, very applicable to the business that we conduct here. In order to have a meeting, appropriate notice needs to be given out so that people can participate. We're not allowed to have really rushed meetings without any notice where people can't get there to try and push things through. OPMA is the Open Public Meetings Act, requires that we have at least 24 hours notice in advance. Most of the things that we work on require substantially more notice than that, so we rarely run into that as an issue. In terms of things that we need to take action on, our code requires that we send notice to property owners. Help me on this, Vendlin. Is it usually about 10 days in advance for most things?
Yeah, 10 days in advance and 500-foot radius.
Yeah. So rarely, if ever, would we ever run into that. However, the agenda is really important. It needs to sufficiently describe what's going on so that people, when they get the notice saying, hey, this is what our meeting is going to be about, they can decide whether or not they want to participate. If it's too vague, obviously, someone could then challenge action that's taken based on the fact that, hey, I didn't know that this is actually the action that you were going to take or what you were going to vote on or discuss or whatever. And so our staff does a good job of providing sufficient detail for everybody to know in the notices and in the agendas what's going on. So public meetings versus public hearings. We do both here. The public meeting obviously is the whole thing from start to finish. And the public hearing is specific to an agenda item, right, where we allow the public to come and make comment on a conditional use permit or a proposed zone change or whatever. Those can often be the fun ones. Closed meetings, I have in here, although to be honest, there's never a reason that the Planning Commission would have a closed meeting. Closed meetings are only allowed in the situations that I have listed up there. So if we're discussing the character, professional competence, physical, mental health of an individual, that'll happen if the city council is wondering whether or not the city manager is doing a competent job or whatever, right? His job or performance evaluation might happen in a closed meeting, sort of a thing. Strategies to discuss litigation. Again, you could be involved in litigation, but not necessarily in the decision-making process in terms of the city's now been sued because of something that happened to Planning Commission. Now what? That would also be just between city attorney and the city council. And then strategy sessions to discuss purchase of real estate, which again is important so that the city doesn't get prices hiked up really high on it, right? As soon as someone finds out that a government agency wants a specific piece of land, they may want to go out and purchase that land and then stick that price really high, right? So that's another exception, but again, not something that you as the planning commissioner are ever really involved with. Although kind of on the periphery you are, right, in terms of being involved with changing code and whatnot to allow different uses for land. Anyway, what are some common violations of the Open Public Meetings Act? So ex parte communications is something that we want to watch out for. Does anybody know, maybe without reading, what is ex parte communications? I heard that thrown around a lot when I first started as a lawyer, and I was like, you guys are talking like I should know what this means, and I don't.
If a developer came up and wanted to talk to me about their development and how they want to get it through, that would be considered ex parte.
That would be considered ex parte, yeah. Yeah, so ex parte communications are communications between like a party involved in a proceeding and kind of the adjudicating body, such as yourselves. You know, when I first started, I as an attorney was a criminal prosecutor, and the ex parte communication you had to watch out for was you couldn't hang out with the judge and talk about your cases with the judge, right? Unless the other side was also present. And so the ex parte communication, as Commissioner Lidkey pointed out in the context of y'all, is more along the lines of you don't want to be receiving information from parties outside of the public meetings, right? And this goes back to that whole purpose of we want to be open about where our information is coming from, why it is we're making the decisions we're making. We don't want people coming in off the record and making recommendations or presenting evidence or arguments or whatever. If they want to do that, they should do that here. And so I've actually pulled, this slide is kind of long. I'm going to go ahead and read it, this one, just because it comes straight out of the bylaws for the Planning Commission, and that is, commissioners are prohibited from engaging in ex parte communication about any agenda item by an interested party, including but not limited to an applicant or party affected by an application, so maybe like a neighbor who is upset about it or whatever. If a party attempts to engage in ex parte communication, the commissioner should encourage the party to attend the public hearing for the agenda item and provide their comments on the record. This provides all parties an opportunity to voice concerns and suggestions and have such concerns and suggestions addressed. When making a decision about an agenda item, commissioners may only consider the information placed on the record prior to the commission's decision. And that's really important too. In the attorney's office, we're really happy when there's a well-developed record here at the meeting. And so any information you do get should be here. Because if things that happen here do get appealed or challenged legally, then we want it all to be on the record so that we can point to it and say this is the reason we made those decisions. Other common violations are deliberating during the meeting. You know, you might be tempted to send a text message to a fellow commissioner about like, hey, isn't this idea just a bunch of crap? Or, hey, I love this, we need to get so-and-so on board, or whatever, right? Or even texting, you know, staff or other people here about whatever it is that's being discussed that's inappropriate. And so I would actually encourage you just stay off your phones generally in terms of texting during meetings, so it doesn't even look like that's what you're doing. I've been in situations where commissioners or council members were texting on their phone someone who about something completely unrelated, but then it was grammared. Someone made a grammar request for that text message information, right? Because they want to know, all right, who are they wheeling and dealing with? Mm-hmm. So it's easier if you just stay off if you can. And then the after meeting, I would also say the before meeting, right? Often before or after meetings, we congregate together. We might be tempted to talk about what's on the agenda or whatever, and I, again, just encourage you not to, because those deliberations and discussions should all happen on the record. The OPMA requires that all meetings have minutes. Aubrey does a great job of preparing those for us. And you can go ahead and write that down in the minutes right now.
She deserves a raise, City Council.
That's making the minutes.
Anyway, the minutes are important. They need to include the substance of everything that's going on in each vote taken. And this came up recently when we were talking about voting for chairman elections. There was some talk about maybe we should do kind of an anonymous vote so that, you know, we don't hurt each other's feelings voting against each other or whatnot. But in the end, OPMA requires that all votes, even for that kind of a thing, has to be somewhere in the record. And so that's the reason we wrote those voting procedures in our bylaws the way we did, for example. And then, of course, there are rules about posting. pending minutes need to be posted within 30 days, and then finished minutes need to be posted within 3 days. And that's, again, so that the public knows quickly and transparently what's going on, and can easily access the content of what's going on in our meetings. And then finally, what happens if we break the Open Public Meetings Act? The city can be sued, having an action reversed, or sued where they ask the judge to reverse an action that we've completed, or sue us to compel compliance. If they're consistent violations, someone may sue, asking the judge, hey, order them that they need to do it this way. Any fans of The Office here? Yeah.
Huge, yeah.
So I love this episode where, let's see, Jan is suing the company for discrimination or whatever, and nobody's having fun. Nobody has fun in lawsuits. Not even the lawyers. Well, most of us. Some of us do. Some of us enjoy it. I don't. So anyway, obviously we want to avoid that. Don't want to get anybody stuck in any fun depositions. And so we're going to do our best to follow OPMA. Any questions, comments, concerns?
What if a neighbor does come up to you and talk about something, and you say, I can't talk to you about this, but you've heard, like my husband heard something the other day from somebody, and he said something to me, and I said, no, that's not right. But, I mean, should I come to you guys and say, hey, this person's talking about this development that's going in, and, I mean, I could have corrected it very easily, but I didn't know whether I should or not, or...
Yeah.
How do I handle that?
My counsel would be to not engage except for during the meeting, which can be hard.
Yeah, when they're standing right there.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
this and this, well, that's not true, so I don't know what else to say.
Yeah. If it's something that's pending, I mean, if it's something that you've already, that's already been decided.
It's already been decided that they
and-
had the wrong information, am I okay to
Yep,
correct
I mean, once
them?
it's been decided, you are no longer kind of the adjudicative body, right, who's making the decisions.
You can't really be influenced at that point because the decision's been.
Well, I wasn't influenced because it was stupid. so- Can I say?
Fair enough. So yeah, I mean, if decisions have already been made and things are already going, I don't necessarily see an issue with that. Obviously, we want you all to be engaged in the community. Just don't want you, again, receiving information from outside sources that aren't presented at the public meeting that might influence you. And so,
So especially communications before a meeting and an action's been taken, we really need to just invite them to the meeting. And
Exactly,
and
yeah.
we can't comment, but once the decision has been made, then we can correct or whatever. If we overhear someone saying something, we can say, well, this is, you're wrong, it was approved, or it was
Yeah.
denied, and,
yeah. Yeah,
I say read the meeting minutes.
yeah.
It's there.
Here's the minutes.
yeah, you could certainly refer them to the
Yeah,
minutes. I think correcting factual information as far as that goes is probably a good thing. If you're talking about maybe opinions in terms of, well, this is the reason I voted this way or whatever, maybe not as much.
Could get yourself in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. And so that kind of a fine distinction there, but just be aware of it. Yeah. And again, always, of course, invite them to come to the meetings and express their concerns. And like Commissioner Anderson mentioned, sometimes the bell's been rung and you've heard what was said already. And if that's the case, I think it's absolutely appropriate to just say during the deliberation during the commission meeting, well, I heard, a citizen or a neighbor or whatever said this to me, and this was a concern,
Okay.
and then it can be discussed out in the open.
Yeah.
So, which is what we're going for here.
And it's a record.
Yep. Any other questions?
I've had 2 instances where an applicant's, after they've been here and, shared, that they've sent me like a LinkedIn friend request, and I just don't approve it, right, just because I just won't, but where would that fall? You know what I mean? Like, is that,
Yeah.
I'm just curious, I won't, just because I don't even want to put myself in a position.
Yeah, that's fair. So,
They just want to get to know you.
Yeah, right.
when I was a prosecutor at Orem City, our judge always would invite us to go golfing with him.
Yeah.
And it always made us feel icky and kind of uncomfortable.
That sounds like a test. Are you going to say yes?
While I was there, it never happened. I heard of it happening before I got hired there, and the way they did it was the prosecutor and the judge and the public defender all went together to make it look like, it was even, I guess. And you had to be really careful in that situation to keep any conversation personal and not about work, if that makes sense, right? So it would have been inappropriate for us in any of those situations to talk about specific cases or even like, hey, judge, you need to fix your rulings on this type of case generally, sort of a thing, right? And so that's a roundabout way of saying I don't think it's necessarily wrong to accept the LinkedIn invites, but again, if there's discussions about any specific projects, that's where there's that line. So, okay. Any others?
And if someone does approach you and you feel super uncomfortable about it and you push them off, do you advise that we still let staff or you know about that incident? Like if you think it might happen, like it might be a future applicant that contacted you, it's not on the agenda, nothing's been said by staff, but you're like, this could come up, do you advise us to talk to staff or you? about it?
I mean, I would say that you're probably good just bringing it up, if it does come up during a meeting, to just bring it up during the deliberations.
Gotcha.
Hey, however many months ago, this person approached me, this is what they said. It'd be great to say I told them that I couldn't talk about it right then, and today was the day to talk about it, so here we are talking about it, and hopefully they came and are expressing their concerns.
Perfect.
Yep. Okay, great. Well, thank you, and there's your OPMA training for the year.
Good job. Thank you.
So you might wonder, why did we get the books? And it has to do with the training, of course. And there's a binder here. I'll just let everyone take a look at it. If you have already done training this year, please what you have done.
I'm doing mine
How much
tomorrow
time
and
you spent.
Friday.
It's basically
Mine's tomorrow and
a way
Friday.
to, I guess, keep honest cities
I'm
honest
doing mine tomorrow and Friday.
with the training requirement. And I have a printout of the training requirement.
I don't think I've done anything else this year.
Pretty simple. The law says you need 4 hours of training. If you happen to attend 12 meetings in a year, then they give you 1 hour, so that knocks it down to 3. We have open and public meetings training. I think that counts for this training too.
May
knocks it down to 2 hours, but the 2 hours somehow we need to train you. And one way, of course, of doing that is to attend conferences. Well, the APA oftentimes has, shorter meetings that are sort of over lunch that, would count for this type of training. Now, if you read through the law, it also mentions the Utah League of Cities and Towns, or the state in general. There's a specific department that's mentioned, but there are several ways of how you can get this training. So, if, for example, the Utah League has videos on their website. They are oftentimes just videos of a conference session. Now, with the book, so we talked amongst one another a little bit and thought we could approach this book as almost like a book club, where we would say, for the next planning commission meeting, look at the first chapter or so, and then we can discuss it. And if you have any questions, we can find answers for you. And this book is, basically goes through planning from a, Aaron said it's more on the consumer level. It's not necessarily attorney language, right?
Yeah, it's very basic.
Yeah.
Yeah, so which may help all of us to just remember some of the concepts, and a lot of it you are familiar with because you have run into it before at meetings. So I'll leave that book with you, and at the next meeting maybe we can decide a little bit on a timetable how we want to approach this.
So no assigned reading yet.
No, not yet.
So if we didn't have a meeting one week, let's say, we could actually meet and do that and get something out of the way then. See what I mean? If we didn't have anything on the agenda, we could still say, okay, here's our chance to do a chapter and then get the training for it.
And then discuss it. And
Yeah.
then do that.
Are you saying you could take the time and read it at home, or are you saying you would like us to have a
No, read
meeting?
it at home and then we could
Yeah.
have, like the one.
Yeah,
Sometimes we only have one meeting a month, sometimes not even at all.
Right.
One of those, we could, if we didn't have anything on the agenda, we could really go over
yes,
the assignment.
Right, but then it's all
Discuss it.
transparent, because I think we're just trying to make sure we're crossing our Ts and dotting our Is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to let it slip through the cracks. So if we did
Right.
have a free week
Yeah.
to do it, to discuss maybe 1 or 2 chapters, and
Yeah.
then, if it's noticed, then the public's invited too.
true, that is
Yeah.
true. I can already say the next planning commission meeting is probably not the one to do it.
That's fair warning.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The transportation master plan is on it, and the
That
presentation.
little thing,
Yeah, so the presentation may be a little longer, and you might have some questions that you want answered. So, and also we'll have a discussion for a concept plan in the Jordan Bluffs area. So that will be, probably not a short meeting.
Gotcha. But just for futures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
The annual cycle, is it calendar year?
I believe so.
Okay.
I appreciate you made these for our binders.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Then that's really everything I had for you, but Adam has something he wanted to talk about with you.
Okay.
Uh-oh, we're in trouble.
So at the next meeting, we need to have read the first 4 chapters. There's going to be a quiz. And then there's also an essay assignment after
Oh,
that.
awesome.
How many pages or words?
Yeah. What are the margins? What's going on?
So single spaced,
I need to be
10-page max.
excused for that meeting. I'll be out of town.
We're going to run it through an AI simulator so we can see who. No, I just wanted to give a brief update. We were awarded funding to do a first of its kind for Midvale Parks and Open Space Master Plan. And we've chosen a consultant to work with on that. It's MHTN. We're in the process of finalizing the contract. It's through, WFRC will be administering the funds and kind of running it. Liz and I are lead from the city, and don't be surprised if we reach out to some of you throughout the process to be involved in this. We really want this to be meaningful for Midvale, and it'll give us, it'll let us see where we are as far as level of service for parks and where we need to be and how we can get there. So I'm excited to be doing this. The city's never had one, so this will be a cool kind of guide and plan to see where we need to go. And then the other update, if you recall, about a year and a half or so ago, there was a canal trail feasibility study that was done. Some of you went to the open house at the school. It's probably the most well-attended open house I've been to in years. A lot of people were there interested. Some of them were initially opposed to it and kind of came around as we talked. Anyway, that feasibility study finished a while back, and we are now in the process of what we're calling phase one, final design and hopefully construction. We might be running into a few little or big roadblocks, but we're still moving forward. And so the first phase that we would like to do, that we're getting design done for, is from along the canal, I believe it's the Jordan and Salt Lake Canal, because I get them mixed up, but it's from 7500 South to 7800 South. And it goes right along, I believe it's Mid-Valley Elementary. We think that will be a really good first phase to show the community what a canal trail can be. Because it's right next to the elementary school, we anticipate that it will be used quite extensively by the kids that walk to school, and just kind of a showpiece for what the canal trail system can become. And so we're hoping that we can continue to move forward with that, but just wanted to give those updates. And as we have those for various projects, even for stuff on Main Street, I'm happy to fill you in on those, but thank you.
Good work, Adam.
Right there.
All right, that's everything. Anything else? Yo? Motion to close?
Make a motion that we close at 6:43.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Good. Have a great night, Dale. Yes.
See you tomorrow.